Мы не можем с абсолютной точностью просчитать все последствия того или иного направления деятельности человечества. Но внимательно изучая детали, мы можем, по крайней мере, спрогнозировать, насколько оно будет способствовать поддержанию стабильности развития. Виктор Сель, руководитель отдела стабилизации перспектив.
12.
12. 12, you there? This is Central calling 12.
12.
This is 12, on vacation.
How long have you been on vacation?
20 minutes on vacation. Walking out the door.
Vacations later, come back. The theme's on your table.
Черт.
Damn it.
Настройка первая. Площадь поверхности.
Setting 1. The area of the surface of the Earth is 510.2 million square kilometers. Land occupies 29.2%. It is elevated to 875 meters above the sea level on the average. Mountains occupy 1/3 of the surface of the land.
Я не против.
Okay with me,
Только это к
but
чему?
what is it for?
Setting 2. Mountain climbing, a type of activity ascent to mountains that are hard to access, has taken its final shape as a phenomenon by the middle of the 19th century, time of your setting, end of the 20th century, post-communist Russia. Respondents Alexander Klyonov and Mikhail Devi, rated number 1 and number 3 mountain climbers in Russia. Informational occasion, a set of ascents to Grand Capuchin the Alps, Tidru the Alps, and Spanti Karakorum. That's all for the setting. Go immerse 12.
Well,
Во французском городке Шамани.
it snows in the French town of Chamonix.
Справку дайте.
Reference required.
Chamonix, a town in the east of France, February 99. Jean-Claude Marmier, president of the French Mountaineering Federation, invites Russian climbers Alexander Klyonov and Mikhail Devi to the Second International Assembly of Winter Mountain Climbing. Klyonov and Devi have plans to ascend the Petit Dru, one of the hardest to access alpine peaks. Edition 1. Weather conditions. Average temperature in Chamonix -23 by Celsius. Profuse snowfall, snow avalanches. Chamonix has been cut off from the rest of the world for 2 weeks. Weather forecast for the 13th to 15th of February, snowfall may temporarily cease. Temperature -27 by Celsius. Approach to Petit Dru impossible due to avalanches. Klyonov and Devi make a decision to climb the Grand Capuchin, the only peak accessible in these conditions. Edition 2. Except for the routes of the Russian climbers, no other ascents have been made at the assembly.
В Шамани идет снег.
It snows in Chamonix.
В горы не идут.
Climbers don't go to the mountains. Best climbers of the world, while Klyonov and Devi set out for the Grand Capucin.
Стоп.
Hold it.
Чтобы что-то понять,
To understand something, leave alone assess, criteria is required. Coordinates.
Grand Capucin.
Grand Capucin, Glace, Winter, France, the Alps. The Mont Blanc Massif height 3,838 meters. Difficulty category suggested 6A.
Справку.
Reference.
In mountain climbing, 6B is the highest category of difficulty, 6A penultimate.
Шестая А категория сложности.
Difficulty category 6A.
Прохождения.
Trailblazing.
А это что?
What is it?
Для нас всегда интересен именно
It is the new
новый
route
маршрут.
that is always interesting for us.
Александр Кленов.
Alexander Klyonov.
В этом есть что-то такое привлекательное для нас.
It's
потому
got
что,
something attractive for us
ну, по уровню
because, well, with the level we are at, we can repeat any route, maybe faster and more technical than someone else, but the novelty of a route is the most attractive thing.
Наверное, как-то это сложилось в нашем мозгу, что ли.
It must have kind of fallen together in our mind somehow that to blaze a trail is more interesting for us than just improve time of another team on a route.
Михаил Дэви.
Mikhail Devi. I mean, for Western climbers, in principle, Western climbers are better reared in speedy ascents, them Alps as well. In principle, they don't often go difficult routes, even high-class climbers. They do prefer going fast. That's why they select weather for a long time, so that the route condition is perfect, weather is perfect, physical shape and morale is perfect. When it all falls together, they pass a complicated route, here we go, fast, kind of very fast, and everyone's happy. we in Russia somehow ain't got used to waiting long. Either no time or money or something else. Or we are kind of used to put up with things somehow. Weather is fine upon arrival, good. It's not, well, so be it.
Понятно.
Clear.
Теперь про
Now
Гранд
about Grand Capucine.
Гран-Капуцин это, ну это тут нет, не было.
Grand Capucine is... There ain't been no such idea. I mean, we had to select from what was there. Grand Capucine, with the conditions we were in, was the only peak one could simply approach. In the Alps, it's a very well-known peak. It is considered to be the most complicated technically, from the rock point of view. And while studying the material, we discovered that there was a part of the wall hasn't been developed, despite the fact that it looks like every corner of the Alps has been passed, and it turned out to be one bit hasn't been passed.
Почему бы там не появиться русскому маршруту?
Naturally, why shouldn't a Russian route show up there?
How are you? Good trip with big sack. 25. 0.
Можно и по-русски.
Can't speak Russian.
Колотун!
Chills to the bone,
Почти 30 градусов.
almost 30 degrees.
Это наш первый бивак.
It's our first bivouac.
Good бивак.
Ужас.
Horror, horror.
Для тех условий это было максимально
With
сложно,
those
потому
conditions,
что никто больше
it
не
was
смог
the most
совершить вообще
complicated
никаких
task,
восхождений.
because nobody else could perform any ascent at all.
Описание маршрута,
Route
категория
description,
сложности.
Difficulty
Что
category.
означают эти цифры?
What are these figures about? Reference.
In evaluating an ascent, difficulty category for the most difficult sectors should be quoted. For free climbing, 6 categories of difficulty are accepted. First Roman, easy. 6th Roman, extremely difficult. Free climbing of the 6th difficulty category is the upper limit of human ability.
Но вот это уже ближе к
Well,
моей
here's
теме.
something closer to my theme, upper limit of human ability. Now I wish I learned what is more important for them, how climbed or higher climbed.
Ну, это такое очень упрощенное.
Well, it's something to simplify it.
В альпинизме
Higher
есть,
climbed,
ну, грубо
in
говоря, есть
climbing
скалолазание,
there exists, you know, roughly there is
есть,
climbing, there is
технический
technical
класс,
class,
есть
there
ледовый
is ice
класс,
class,
есть
there is
высотное
height ascent.
восхождение. В принципе,
In
вот любой
principle,
человек,
every
который
person
идет
who goes to a
на гору,
mountain,
он старается
he tries to
выполнить
accomplish for
для
himself
себя
a certain
какую-то
maximum
максимальную
task.
задачу.
For someone it is such,
Просто для
for
одного
another
она
a different
такая,
one,
для другого такая,
but
но каждый
everyone is
старается
trying to
выполнить
perform
что-то
something at the
максимально
maximum
возможное
of
для
his
себя.
capabilities.
Мы специализируемся на стенах. Когда ты выходишь на стену,
We specialize in walls.
именно вот в
When you sit
техническом
out on
плане
a
ты
wall,
используешь гораздо
It is
больше
technically a
скал,
much
средств,
greater
которые
range of means that you
многим
use
недоступен.
that is
И,
inaccessible to many.
ну, как бы вот существует такая тенденция, что после стен с возрастом
There is
все
a tendency
уходят
that
на
after
высотное
walls,
восхождение.
at a certain age, everyone turns to
Просто
height
потому, что
ascents.
стены становятся
Just because
недоступны.
walls become inaccessible for
Именно
these people.
потому, что вот
It is
такое
because
понятие
that such a concept
высоты,
of height,
оно
it
для
is
всех
clear for
понятно,
everyone.
поэтому на
People
Эверест
go to
люди
Everest
ходят
in
толпами.
crowds.
Если
By
на
now,
Эвересте
there
сейчас
have been
было
more than
более
200
200
people on
человек,
Everest.
то
On
на
Spantic before us,
Спантике для нас
2
было
people
20
only.
Первая ночевка. Прошла удачно.
First overnight halt was successful.
Первый день восхождения.
Ascent, day 1.
Собрали палатку, платформу.
Tent, portalage assembled.
И как это они
And,
говорят,
as they say, off they
оторвались.
took.
Крутые монолитные скалы Гран-Капуцина в условиях
Under
сильного
conditions of a
мороза
fierce
могли быть
frost,
пройдены
steep
только
monolithic
технически
rocks of the Grand
подготовленными
Capucine could
альпинистами,
only be passed by technically
имеющими
prepared climbers
достаточный
with a
запас
sufficient stock of equipment.
Кажется, я начинаю
Looks like I begin to understand. It's a sport, competition. To be the first in certain specific rules of the game.
Ну, альпинизм вообще спортом является.
Climbing is a sport only in Russia, in the former Soviet Union as well. Everywhere else in the world, it is not considered sport. It's a way of life, a way of pastime. Although there are professional sportsmen, professional climbers, but he is not a sportsman. He competes against no one. He simply goes a certain route, writes an article about it, holds lectures. He maybe does only this professionally, but he competes against no one as such. Ascent day 2. Now Davy goes first, Klonov second. Here he is, pulling the rucksack and the portalage and appliance allowing a hold for the night on a vertical rock. The weather is getting worse. A frost of -30 is now accompanied by squalls of wind. It's visible, the wind driving the snow. Oh no, it's rather a competition, although against an inanimate adversary, maybe against the mountains.
С горой это нельзя назвать соревнованием, потому что победить-то ее нельзя.
Against a mountain, you can't call it competition since you can't overcome it. By all means, it's a competition against oneself, anyway. You can't compete against mountains. You're not of such an interest to them. You compete against an adversary for whom you're of interest, while mountains pay little attention to whatever crawls upon. Although they most likely must pay some. Must pay some. Must pay some. Problems of studying the future, say nothing of the attempts to stabilize it, are widely discussed nowadays. The microorganisms mutated at the Mir orbit station may well present a danger to life on Earth. Their vitality. Still, the legal system of the Tamerlan's empire does not look as primitive nowadays. I did not send this report. They called me off well before submersion. They have always been a closed organization. Penetration to the lunges. Even in this century, cloning remains a technical problem. It's moral side.
12, you there? This is Central calling 12.
Oh, damn, this is 12.
Been calling you for half an hour. Sleeping, were you?
Yeah, looks like I've been off for a while.
Clarification. Central is interested in motivation. Have you understood? A detailed motivation of actions. Here you go.
Here you go. As if it were the easiest thing. Motivation, goal, super goal. Simply put, what for? What do you do this for?
Люди не принимают, в общем-то, все, что отлично от них, это к любому виду деятельности относится.
People do not accept whatever different from them. This is relevant to any kind of activity. That is, whatever is showing outside the level of average, it's all accepted as something unnecessary in general.
Может, в этом заложен какой-то инстинкт самосохранения человечества.
Maybe this is where the self-protection instinct of the human kind lies, maintaining a certain average, community of the society. That's what I think for myself. This here level, the average, doesn't let you jump out of the gravity.
Это самый сложный вопрос. Объяснить, зачем.
It's the most complicated question. To explain why you're doing something that in fact presents no practical point of view is very difficult. It's something inside, on the subconscious level.
Ну, то есть человек там, ну вот друг, он есть друг.
A person out there, well, He is a friend and he is a friend in the most direct sense. Your life depends on him, as well as his depends on you. This is human relations, which probably should be this way.
С другой стороны, есть время подумать. Ну, ты поехал в экспедицию.
On the other hand, there is time to think. You go on an expedition, all your issues solved, financially, all your everyday problems are reduced to the way of survival. You have time to think. In such a life, there is very little time, in fact.
Хотя я не скажу, что я не...
Although I don't want to say I don't like the world, the good things of civilization. I use them with pleasure. I like enjoying life.
Сложный вопрос.
A difficult question. The further in we are, the more difficult it gets to answer. Because there is an area where words and notions do not perform.
Ну, грубо говоря, существо двухмерного мира, оно не может...
Roughly speaking, a creature from a two-dimensional world, it can't understand a three-dimensional world. It simply does not perceive it. And at the same time, if it makes its way to such a world, it won't be able to pass this information back, because the notions existing there, they have no definition in this world. A creature from a two-dimensional world, it cannot understand a three-dimensional world. It simply does not perceive it. It simply does not perceive it. Out in the mountains, we can keep silent all day long. Misha and I climbing can say just 2 or 3 words in a day. Just don't need words.
Скажи что-нибудь.
Say something.
Вон где-то там вершина.
Out there somewhere,
Если не
there's
побоимся
peak.
мороза, то сегодня
If we're
должны
not afraid
заметить.
of frost, should climb today,
Как повезет.
as luck goes.
Критическая ситуация такая была на третий день.
There was one critical situation on day 3. We knew the forecasts for a good weather on the last day. To the peak, we had 5 or 6 ropes to go. We understood that if we go with all the equipment, we'll pass 3 or 4 ropes. We made the decision to leave all the equipment behind, the portalage as well, took off it with 2 ropes, and went up. In doing so, should anything happen, even a minor injury, for example, we were taking risks of being unable to descend and getting a hold for the night in the cold. With temperatures like that, it was fairly risky. Shortly before we arrived, there was a group of Englishmen, I believe. 2 or 3 died, 1 or 2 got serious frostbites with amputation of limbs. Would have been very risky.
Но это другое измерение, конечно. Многие люди идут вот на те же 8 тысяч.
This is certainly a different dimension.
Там побыть.
Many people go on the same 8,000 just for the sake of having been there, never minding that he may never descend.
Мне не важно.
Doesn't matter for me, if I would only climb.
Вот она цель, и что-то в ней есть такое манящее такое.
Here it is. Here is the goal.
Видимо, что-то, что
And
мы
there
не
is something so enticing in it,
потому
but
что
evidently something we don't recognize, because it can't be explained.
Александр
Клёнов,
номер 1,
Rated number 1 mountain climber in Russia. The Russian Winter Ascent, 1999,
вершина
the Grand Capucine Peak.
Конечно, трудно понять, наверное, если там не бывал. То есть, как,
Probably it is hard to understand if you haven't been there.
зачем ходить,
Many people
зачем
cannot
рисковать,
understand.
это же опасно.
But it is
Все задают
dangerous.
вопрос, это же
Most
опасно,
often they
зачем
ask,
туда ходить?
but it is dangerous, why do you go there?
То есть, хотя на самом деле, если человек оглянется вокруг, то он не всегда
Although in fact, one may look around only to find him or herself not always doing everything to escape danger. With our luck, we made it to the peak at 4 sharp, with the last rays of the sun.
Михаил Дэви,
Mikhail Davy,
номер 3,
rated number 3 mountain climber in Russia. The Russian Winter Ascent, 1999, the Grand Capucine Peak.
Ну, это и есть притча даже такая, не знаю, может быть, ее может упомянуть.
There is one fable, maybe worth mentioning. A circus actor has become a monk, has lived in a cloister for a long time.
И вот он, закрывшись как-то там,
Once he locked himself in his cell and started juggling balls.
рядом стояла икона.
There was an icon of Our Lady nearby.
Потом вдруг
Suddenly he came to, I am a sinner, what am I doing, playing?
играет.
And Our Lady descended from the icon and said, keep doing it, you do it well.
Центральная.
Central,
12
central,
вызывает
this is
центральную.
12 calling central.
12.
12.
To
В
Perspective
отдел
Stabilization
стабилизации
Department,
перспектив.
transmitting
Передаю
report,
отчет.
received.
Тема
The theme
будет
will be
называться
called
«Параллельные
Parallel, negative, better,
вертикальный».
vertical,
Да.
affirmative,
Вертикальный
vertical
мир.
world.
Принято.
Roger, received. That be it? You were going on vacation, coming back?
Нет.
Negative,
Еще. Нет.
not yet.